You're listening to the Wise Women Invest podcast, a division of Noise Media Network, hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney. Wise Women Invest is on a mission to help 1 million women learn how to make smart money moves by becoming savvy investors in real estate, the stock market, cryptocurrency, and early-stage businesses. Now your host, chief noisemaker, and wise woman herself, Audrey Bell Kearney.
Good afternoon. Well, still morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Wise Women Invest. Carolyn and I have, and mostly my fault, have been out of the loop about a couple of weeks, but we are back here and we're on schedule. So the show will be airing every other Wednesday starting today. So not next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. Trying to get on a schedule, and it's so funny because stuff always come up, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta tell Carolyn I gotta postpone the show, but we're on a schedule. So glad to be back with you guys. Good morning, Carolyn. Welcome.
Welcome. Glad to see you as well.
Thank you. And so we got a good topic today, y'all. And the reason I chose this topic was because I'm an entrepreneur, and I was just telling Carolyn, she said, I know you've done like a bunch of shows this morning. I was like, no, but I've been on a bunch of meetings and one show. And here's the thing. So I don't know if you guys think about it, but I think about retiring sometimes. Like I want to go to Tuscany, and I want to go to Greece, and I want to go to Liberia, and I want to go to Egypt, and I want to go to Bali. Well, I can't do all that if I'm always working, right? I can't do all that. And well, okay, some people may say I could because we do have like the laptop lifestyle. However, I like to work at home. So that doesn't do me any good. I like to work at home. Like I'm never comfortable when I'm traveling, trying to work, even though I'll take my computer, I'm not. So at some point, I think I may just want to retire. But here's the thing. We need to make sure we got some retirement plans in place. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't even think about that because when you think of retirement, you think of retiring from a job. So I'm glad Carolyn is going to be sharing with us what we need to do as entrepreneurs if we want to retire from our business. I know it's not a job, but it's a business, and you can retire from it, y'all. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Carolyn so she can get us started because I think I want to retire. I'm at that stage right now, so I'm feeling it a little bit.
Well, Audrey, I'm so glad that we're having this discussion, and what you just started sharing with our audience is so real. Several things you shared that all take part in that whole idea of, am I going to retire? One of the things that I always look at, especially for entrepreneurs, I share first and foremost is that you want to take the time to think about that. You want to take the time. You shared that. Number two, you shared that you were busy. Not you'd done a podcast, but you're also on a lot of calls this morning. Where for entrepreneurs, a lot of times we are busy. We've got so many things going on, so we don't take the time to really think about what am I doing for my retirement? What am I doing to assess where I am to make sure that I'm going to be ready? And if I do want to retire, Audrey, there's a lot of people who say, well, you know what? I own my own business. I don't need to retire. But at some point, like you say, you're going to want to go play on the beaches of the world. You may want to do that, or at least have the ability to step away from your business. So you kind of pseudo retire. But here's the difference. Here's the thing. You want to be ready for whatever that is, and so I want to start with this. One of the things we talk about, we do a rural class with business owners. I've done it at several special events, and we talk about a lot of things, and we end up talking about retirement. But one of the things that we found was that a lot of people became entrepreneurs because they left a job or they worked for somebody at some point, and they say, you know what, I'm going to start doing this on my own. I'm going to start my own business. It's something that I'm really passionate about. I can do it from home. I don't have to worry about it. So one of the things that we talk to entrepreneurs about, especially when they get ready for retirement, number one is if you left money where you worked, one of the first things you want to do is roll it out of there. You should have rolled it out when you left at the first time early, because you never want to leave your money where you're not anymore. So if there's any money at previous jobs, you want to roll it out of there. And then you want to sit down and really start to think about what I'm going to plan. And that's early. As soon as you start your business, roll whatever money you have that was left at a job that you were at. You want to roll it out of there. Then you want to start looking at, how do I maximize my contributions? Now, there are a lot of different plans that an entrepreneur has that are not available to an average person. And an entrepreneur really gets to put away more money, Audrey. They get to put away more money. The key is making sure that you understand what the tax ramifications are. And we're not going to talk about that in this segment, but what the tax ramifications are for each one of those plans. And you also, the last thing you want to do, so number one, roll over any money you left where you were. Number two, actually start planning for your retirement. Look at what's available, what your tax options are. We're going to talk a little bit about those types of accounts that you can have. And then the last thing is, you want to really make some decisions about, it's called prepping your business for when you do decide to retire. Are you going to keep working it? Is it at a point where it can yield revenue for you throughout your retirement? Do you have a successor? Do you have someone who can take over for you when you decide to leave the business? Very, very important thing to see. Some of us have children and our kids are at an age where we can teach them the business. Is it something that your kids can roll over into? You want to start thinking about that and preparing them for that. So when you do get to a point where Audrey says, I think I may be thinking about retirement. So when you get to that point, you might have children that can take over that company for you, or you want to identify some potential buyers. Who might buy your company? And that's really a touchy subject too, because the business we have created, we have the passion for it. We know what we were doing. We know what our thought process is. We can do it in our sleep. Everybody may not have that passion. And studies have shown that a lot of the businesses that are put up for sale don't actually sell, or someone may not have the same value. You may think it's worth something, but it may not be worth that much to the average person on the market. So those are just some things you want to start thinking about as a business owner. Did any of those grab your attention, Audrey, before I start talking about the types of accounts they can have?
It did. You know what grabbed my attention? So I have one daughter. I have one daughter and one granddaughter. I just got one kid. And so when I look at what I'm building, I don't think my daughter will want to do the business, because her dream is something totally different. And I can't force my dream on her. So that's so important what you're saying, because think about that. Like, you may have a kid, you want to stay in the business, in the family, but if the kid doesn't want the business, then what do you do with it? Now you got to figure out how to sell it. So all of those things are really important. And I've thought about this plenty of times. My daughter and I have had conversations, and I'm always saying, oh, you should think of this, you could think about that. But I realize her passion, her dream is somewhere else. So I can't force that on her. So I know for me, when I think about retiring, I'm thinking about taking whatever money, when I get to sell my company, I'm going to sell the company and take that money and let you tell me where to put it, because that's what's going to happen. Because I know she doesn't want the company, and my niece is doing something different. My nephew's doing football. So, it's only the four of them, the baby nephew, he hasn't even started his life for real. So what happens to the company? I'm probably going to have to sell it. And I'm okay with that, and I get it. Whoever buys it, once I sell it, it's out of my hand. They can do what they want to. But I want to know, what am I going to do with the money? What happens with that afterwards, so I can keep living the life I want to lead after I sell a business?
Awesome. So here's the thing. A lot of times, Audrey, people, and I want to tell everyone who's listening that you want to start preparing for your retirement today. And that means that, your business may sell and garner you the kind of income that you want in your retirement. But what if it doesn't? So you want to start today. When we talk about starting for retirement, and even some of the accounts that we've talked about on past broadcasts that a person can start investing their money in, you can actually start those things today. The wonderful thing is that typically you can put more money away. Business owners have a lot more options than people who work for somebody.
What are some of those options, Carolyn? What are some of those options?
We're going to talk about those, but I want to tell you that it all depends on their personal goals. We also talked about whether or not we're not going to talk about the market and all of that in here, but one of the first ones is a solo 401k. Now, if you've worked for a company before, then you know what a 401k is. It typically is an account where you're investing in either the company or it won't be your company, but it's investing in a lot of other companies. And so, but you have the benefit. I think the maximum contribution is around 50 grand. When you're in working for someone, remember, you can only do a small percentage, like up to 6% or up to 8% or whatever of your salary. You can max it out, but it wasn't a lot. You follow? But as an entrepreneur, you get the opportunity to put away up to about $56,000 of your maximum contributions, which is an incredible thing for an entrepreneur. Again, you want to consult your, we can get into a tax thing later, Audrey, with a tax professional, but you want to make sure that it depends on your earnings. It also depends on what your, any other limits that you may have based on your particular company, but it does work similar to the 401k if you are working for a company. And we talked about, you've heard of IRAs, individual retirement account, where as a self-employed person, you can actually do what's called a simplified employee pension. And you've heard that number. That's what it's called a SEP, SEP, is a simplified employee pension. Now, you've heard the word pension for years and years and years. Well, that typically for a company, those went away. But for a retired, for an entrepreneur, you get the opportunity to set up a retirement, and it's a SEP, which is a lot better than just the IRA because it has a larger contribution. And when I talk about plans that are better for an entrepreneur than for an individual, most of the time it's because you can put more money away. The key is you got to start. You don't have to have a large sum of money to start. You can start with as little as $50 a month. Just like the regular IRA that we talk about, you can start setting up your retirement as a self-employed, as an entrepreneur, for as little as $50 a month. Now, granted, you and I both know that $50 is not going to take you through retirement. But the earlier you start, the more you can build on that, and then make it grow from there. But that is one of the best things that the self-employed person can have: the solo 401k, and then the SEP that we just talked about. We also talked about the Roth IRA in some previous segments that we did. I always recommend for a self-employed person, an entrepreneur who needs some tax advantages, you may want to do the traditional IRA. The traditional IRA allows you to deduct any contributions that you make from your income taxes, and that reduces your taxable exposure. You follow? So you always want to look for, and that's why I said you want to sit with a professional to make sure you're looking at what are my tax advantages. If you're an entrepreneur, and of course we have to pay our own taxes, you want to find the vehicles that are going to give you the best tax advantage where you can deduct that. And that's one of the ones that you can do that. That's traditional. You can have a Roth as well. Some people have both. I have entrepreneurs who have both the Roth IRA and the traditional IRA. The Roth allows you to take money. Your money grows when you take it out. It's tax free, and as long as you've had it in existence for at least 5 years, you can take some money out of it without penalty. The traditional IRA basically has some penalties if you try to take it out before you're 59 and a half. But those are just some of the things, Audrey. We always think about, well, how is it going to grow? How is it? All of that is every conversation we've had about the market. You determine where it's going to be invested. If you're an aggressive person, then we'll put you in something that is tied to the market, because the market over history has been up and down, but you still get a great rate of return there. If you're moderate, middle of the road, we give you a mixture. We can put you in annuities. If you say, you know what, I don't want to deal with the market at all, then there's something that's called an annuity that allows you to take advantage of a return, not as great as if you were taking some risk, but you can have an account where you have minimized risk there. So it all depends on whether you are okay with taking risk or whether you want to minimize your risk. And that's when we decide to put you in something else. So you've got the solo 401k, you've got the SEP, you've got a traditional IRA, or you have a Roth IRA. Those are all types of accounts that an entrepreneur can put their money in, a small business can put their money in to get them prepared for retirement. You know, the interesting thing, Audrey, is that small businesses make up about 97% of the economy. I don't know if you ever realized that,
Wow.
our economy stays robust because of small businesses. And technically, a small business is any business that has less than 500 employees. And they have found that most of the reason why this country continues to be at the economy as it is because of small businesses. It's not necessarily because of large companies.
So I wanted to ask you this, because you said the solo 401k, you said the Roth, you got the IRA, the Roth IRA, you got the SEP, and then you said annuities. So can one person, an entrepreneur, can they have all four of those? If they have, so you know what, I'm going to allocate $250 a month. I need all of them. I want to have a vehicle. I want it all there. Or would you suggest take that $250 and put it in one? Or if they want to have a Roth or 401k, or, you know, the whole SEP and all those things, what would your advice be to that person who's listening right now saying, well, I want them all, because when I get ready to leave, I need to have money stacked away. I want them all. What would you say to that person?
I would tell them, don't take 250 and try to put it in all. I would say, you know, let's find one or two for $250, because depending on where it's put, there may be some small account charges, and you don't want to have that many account charges in there. They're minimal, usually less than 5%, but you don't want to have that many there. Also, I would not recommend, because in and of itself, each one of these types of accounts have diversification in them. So if you need tax deferral, then I would put more of the money in that account than if you put it in one that's not tax deferred. If you need to deduct it from your taxable income, then I would say put more money in that. So it all depends on what literally every person is different. So it all depends on what their strategy needs to be for them to have the best type of retirement plan set up. And I will tell you this, that typically with $250, I would say no more than three, maybe two types. But again, it all depends on what the best option is for that particular person. And as you grow, as your business grows, you want to allocate even more money to your retirement, so that whether you retire or not, as you get older, you may not want to spend as many days in your business as you do. I know Audrey's like me. We're all over the place all day long. You may not want to spend that many hours. You know, you may want your toes on the beaches of the world. And so to do that, you want to make sure that you're preparing. And each person, Audrey, because it's different, because each one of them also has a maximum. So let's say one, you won't max out. The maximum is the total amount for the year. So you could you could have a certain amount in one account, a certain amount in another, as long as you don't hit that max. And then there's another account. I cannot remember the name of it right now. That's for the high income, real high net worth companies, self-employed people. When that comes to me, I'll let you know. But I would not try to put all of them with $250. I would probably that's a long answer, but I'll probably just do two of them.
And that's a good answer, because I was thinking as you were talking. So let's look at the 401k, the single 401k. What is the cap for an entrepreneur for that? Like the annual cap, what they can put in the 401k. And then I want to go down the line with the Roth, the IRA, and then the SEP with the same question.
For the SEP 401k, I think it's about $56,000. If you're under 50. If you're over 50, then it's about $62,000. They all increase the older you get. Okay. For the simplified, I think it's around $56,000 there as well. For the SEP, the simplified employee pension, it's around $56,000. They go up a little bit every year, I think they may have increased a little bit during the pandemic. So don't hold me to this, listeners, but it's a little bit around 56,000, maybe a little bit more than that, as we're getting past through the pandemic. If you were doing a simple, did I talk about a simple IRA, Audrey?
You did not. You talked about a Roth, a regular Roth, not a simple.
Okay, so we'll get to that in a second. But the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA is really pre-tax. There's no limit on it. You just continue to invest the money, and I think I told you that it's pre-tax dollars. And if you've had the account for at least 5 years, you can take money out of there. But the key around 56,000 is the cap on most of those.
Okay. Now, I know you mentioned the annuity, which is one of the products I happen to like. I think for a lot of people in our space, the reason they kind of deter away a little bit is because depending on what company you go with, to get an annuity, you have to put like a lump sum. But is there a cap on that as well? Is it 50 or 60 for the annuity, or is that like that number higher?
It's much, much higher. I have clients. I have a client right now, a couple of years ago, that put like $700,000 in an annuity. So you can put as much as you want in an annuity. It's higher. There are typically a lot more expenses that are associated with an annuity, because they literally protect your assets. You have a greater, it protects you through market fluctuations. You have the ability to cap it at certain points. Like you can say, when my annuity gets to this point, cap it, and your money would never ever grow below that. So if you cap it at, let's say it gets to $500,000, and you say cap it right here, but you pay for that. You follow? So there are a lot more costs that are associated with annuities. You do pay for that. And it's called a step, as a step rate. As it gets up, you can lock it at that next step. And which means that once it gets to that point, no matter what happens in the market, no matter what happens in the underlying accounts, you would never go below that amount. And that's one of the great things about annuities. People tend to shy away from them because they don't understand them. But also they think that you may lose your money. You don't, because you do have the ability to lock it in. You do have the ability to be protected, which is incredible with an annuity. But there are no limits on it like the other accounts. You can actually it does take a lot more money to get them started. In most cases, it's about $25,000 to get started in one. But if you have not started your retirement as a self-employed person, if you've not started your retirement at all, then it may be to your benefit to take some money and put it away into an annuity so that it's growing for you and you can look at it long-term. It's long-term savings. So your investments as a self-employed person, entrepreneur, your investment should literally be looked at that. What is my long-term objective here? You don't want to put money there that you're going to need next year or the year after that to pour back into your business. This is literally you're being selfish enough to put away $25,000, $30,000 for yourself.
With the lock-in rates for the annuity, what does those numbers look like? You know what I mean? Because I think I've heard some stuff about annuities. Sometimes I hear good stuff, sometimes I hear not so good stuff. And one of the things is some of the fees are expensive. So when you're thinking about lock-in rates, let's say I got $200,000. I say, Carolyn, I'm going to put this in an annuity. I don't ever want it to go below 200,000, but I don't mind it increasing when the market goes up, because I know that's how that works. What's like an example of what a lock-in rate would actually be for an account like that, an annuity like that?
When I said lock-in rate, I misspoke. Let me say we lock in. You get a certain point, and then it stays at that amount. Okay, so because if I tell you that this particular annuity pays 7%, okay, so it pays 7%, and the market, let's say when we say lock in, let's say the market does 3%, you want 7%, and we tell you that it's 7%. Well, we can actually put you in an annuity to where even if the market does only 3%, you're still guaranteed that 7%. There are annuities like that. Okay, so that's what that means. Or you can get to your account gets to a certain, it's either a dollar amount or it could be a fixed rate. And that's one of the great things about it, Audrey, is as it's because we say that it's going to protect you against fluctuations in the market, you get to a point where whatever the market is doing, it doesn't matter because you either make money or you won't lose any. And that's the awesome thing about an annuity. You'll either make money because it'll say, if it does this, you're going to lock in here. But if the market is, if the annuity does below what it's supposed to do, you won't lose anything. And that's the awesome thing. You'll gain on the time when it's gaining, but you won't lose anything when the market is going down. And that's what that means. That you'll be able to look in where you would not have those losses there in your account. And that's I love them. You know, they're really, really great. You have to be at least, for most of them, some of them you have to be at least 50 years old before you start. I think there are a few that you can start at age 45 because they are geared for people to start looking at retirement. So I think there are a few that 45, but most of them are 50 years and older.
Okay, cool. Now you had mentioned earlier about a simple IRA. What is a simple IRA?
Well, it's really just for people that are small business owners. That's all that is. Small business owners. It has a contribution, I think is around $13,000 maximum contribution, but it's for people with some employees. So if you're an entrepreneur and you have employees, then you want to look at a simple IRA for you and your employees. You follow? So if it's, but unlike the other ones that we talked about, like the solo 401k, that's just for the owner. That's for the entrepreneur, the business owner themselves. Okay. But if you have employees, then you want to look at the simple IRA where you can have yourself, and I think it's up to about 100 employees that you can have that set up for them.
So that $13,000 max, is that per person in the business or is that just for the owner?
It's for per person.
Okay. So if I have my company has employees, because I'm thinking now, so my company has employees, and because I am the one, my company is offering this simple IRA, because I know some of those plans, like an IRA, traditional IRA, let's say they was working at Coke and it was an IRA, that's not a $13,000. You can't put $13,000 if you were at Coke, right? Like a big company. It's only for a small company.
It's only for small companies. That's correct. And also when those, again, most of those companies won't talk with you about IRAs are for people that are not associated with corporations. Most corporations would have a 401k. When you do IRAs and that, it comes outside of the company. These are for business owners, small business owners.
Okay, cool. Woo, I know y'all got a lot, because you know Carolyn be bringing the fire, baby. She be bringing the fire, but that's what you need. And so as I'm thinking about, you know, moving into having a life, not that I don't have a life, y'all, but to have some downtime, you know, I'm looking at how to protect my assets, how to increase my assets, how to create multiple streams of passive income, all of these different things. You know, I have to do my research. I talked to Carolyn, we missed some calls, but I always know when she comes back that she's going to bring us some good stuff. So I know that was a lot. I know somebody is still very confused right now. And I know they're saying, I want to retire at some point. If you want to retire, you want to reach out to Carolyn, and we're going to drop her number so you can call her. Carolyn, let's get the number so they can call you. Let me put the name in there, right? Listen, you call Carolyn, let her tell you how to get started. What's the number, Carolyn?
It's 404-844-8110.
All right, 404-844. Yes.
404-844-8110. Correct. And it is always important. It's always, thank you so much. It's always important to remember that everybody's retirement situation is different. And that's why I'm so reluctant sometimes to talk about the types of plans, because people think that, you really need to sit down with someone one-on-one. And that's one of the things we talk to business owners about all the time. The small business owner, make sure you sit down with someone. Just like you would not want to, if you're great at that, that's great, but you don't want to prepare your own taxes. You don't want to do your own books. You want to have a professional that's going to help you with your retirement, because everyone's situation is different. And the last thing I want to share, Audrey, is that as a small business owner, also make sure that you look at how your Social Security is going to play into your retirement plans as well. Make sure you look at that. And all of that you should be looking at early, so that as you're planning, you don't get to be 65 and go, oh, what am I going to do? You want to start doing it now. So that's why we're here at Wise Women Invest, to share the information and give you an opportunity to meet with someone that can help you out.
And listen, you might know somebody, but if you don't know anybody, reach out to Carolyn, let her help you, because as you can see, she knows what she's talking about in this space. And we're going to be running some workshops, and I'll tell you more about it with the Greater Eastside Chamber of Commerce. We'll talk more about that on another episode. Carolyn, I do want to talk next time about the Social Security piece, because I hear a lot of people who say, I don't want to mess up my Social Security. And so I would love to talk about that. I hear that a lot. And I have quite a few friends who are at Social Security age, and they say that all the time. I don't want to mess up my Social Security. And I'm like, what is that? I'm not there yet, y'all. I'm not there. So I don't know what that really means. And I don't ask any questions. I'll be like, oh, okay. So the next episode in 2 weeks, y'all, week after next, not next week, but the next week, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about what does it look like to have investment accounts and Social Security, and will it mess up Social Security? So stick a pin in that. We'll talk about that on the next episode, because I hear people say that all the time to me. I have 2 friends to be exact, and one of them is quick to say, I ain't trying to mess with my Social Security. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? And she travels all the time, Carolyn. She's going to Greece in a couple of weeks. She travels all the time. So she's not trying to mess up Social Security, whatever that means, because I have no idea. But let's talk about that on the next episode. As far as it, as it pertains to your investments, and making sure that people are safe with their investments and their Social Security. If there's an option to do both, I'm not sure.
Well, we'll definitely talk.
So listen, guys, thank you. Okay, cool. Thank you all for listening again. I hope you found this episode very educational, and I hope it helps you to make some wise decisions. And here's the thing: if you don't know what you're doing, just consult a professional. I say this every day, Carolyn, on all my shows. Just consult a professional. It will cost you less money in the end. So reach out to Carolyn. Her number is on the screen right there. Ask her for help. She's there to help. So ask her for her help. She's there to help you guys. Don't go out there trying to do it by yourself if you don't know what you're doing, because if you lose all your money, you didn't get that from us. All right. Full disclosure. We said consult a professional. Full disclosure. So consult a professional. Carolyn, thank you again. I'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Social Security and investing.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, everybody. So listen, that's all we got for you today. We'll be back again in 2 weeks to bring you more great information on how to invest. You guys stay safe out there. And until next time, make it a great day. Bye, y'all.
You've been listening to the Wise Women Invest podcast. Tune in daily at 6 p.m. for a new investment tip to help you make smart money moves. To learn more about Wise Women Invest,